Hey there, friends. My name is Tyler. I go by Stickybuds, and today I want to talk to you guys about how to link your different computers together if you're a musician or some other kind of creative worker, and making your computers talk together and update files simultaneously over Dropbox and these folder links called symbolic links. Now, it's a bit of a difficult topic to teach, but I'm going to do my best, and I think you'll get it. The way I have my capture cards and cameras set up is I have this main camera. I have my first MacBook Pro here, and I have my second MacBook Pro here. And then I also have a PC, which I need to switch the input on my second MacBook Pro to get to the PC screen. But I'll kind of talk about the Macs first, and then we'll talk about PC stuff. And I'll just go over real quickly what I'm going to teach you. So why this is amazing for me is I can be on my one MacBook Pro, and it doesn't matter if it's an iMac or a MacBook Pro or whatever, or a Mac Pro. I can do all my engineering, set editing, Serato playlist creation on one Mac, and literally in real time, it's being transported to my other Mac. I can open up Serato and all my playlists are there. All the files are linked there perfectly. Everything works seamlessly. Everything is stored basically in Dropbox on each computer, but it syncs over the cloud. And then I have my music folders symbolically linked on each Mac into the Dropbox. So just to give you a visual on what that looks like. So I have my Mac number one here. We have usually, this is how your MacBook Pro or your iMac or any default Mac is going to be set up like this, where you have your Mac, you have your music folder, and Serato and Serato Backup default are created into the music folder. That's also where you may have your Ableton music library and all your songs that you DJ with, all your sample libraries if you're a producer. So what we're going to do is we're going to install Dropbox on our computer, which I've already done, obviously, and you will need to do this too, or some kind of other cloud storage, but I'm going to just demonstrate this for Dropbox. If you use something else that's similar, you'll have to just figure it out for yourself, but it will be the same process. So we have Dropbox installed in our computer. We're going to take our Serato folders and our Serato backup and our Ableton user library and all our songs and samples, and we're going to put them in our Dropbox folder. Then we're going to symbolically link the music folder and the Dropbox music folder. Now, what that is a symbolic link is basically an alias. So if I show you on my Finder here, if I go Tyler's MacBook Pro users, here's my all the folders in my user name. Now you see this music folder has a little arrow on it. Now this is a symbolic link, which is different than an alias folder. So if I double click on this music folder, that takes me actually to my Dropbox music folder. That looks like this. You can see they are the same. So a symbolic link is basically just like a teleportation unit between folders, and it's done at the root level in terminal on Mac and command prompt on PC. And all programs will treat symbolic links as actual file paths. Whereas if you just use an alias file, which is way easier to do, it doesn't work properly. So once we've symbolically linked our user library and our Dropbox with all our files in it, we are going to take our second Mac, which can be anything. Now it's very important, and it has to be that your usernames on each Mac are the exact same. So on my second MacBook Pro here, just to go in and look, MacBook Pro users, you can see tylerm, and then on my first Mac here, Tyler's MacBook Pro. Doesn't matter what the MacBook Pros or the hard drives are called, and once again, it doesn't matter what kind of Mac, but just your user library has to be the same name. So tylerm, and then we're going to symbolically link on this second Mac. So in my users, you'll see here that my music folder is another symbolic link. It's got the arrow there, which links to my Dropbox, which is the same as on Mac number one in my Dropbox, all the same stuff. Because that's how Dropbox works. It's basically an online cloud storage, and any computers you have connected to it it will replicate the files there. But then the extra kind of trick that we're doing here is symbolically linking our music folder in our user path on each Mac to that music folder in Dropbox, thus kind of fooling each Mac to use the Dropbox music folder as the default music folder. And for programs like Serato that default their system files into user/music, this is the way you have to do it to get two computers to update to each other. So I hope that makes sense. And just to give you a quick little demonstration, let's open Serato. So this is Serato on my first Mac where we just were. Now, if you look in the top right corner, you'll see that it says Mac 1. And if we go over here, it says Mac 2 in the top right corner, just to help you kind of keep track of everything. So this is my Serato library. I'm just going to make a new crate. Today's date is October 13th. So I'm going to make a new crate, October 13th. Let's put it in my 2020 October folder. So in my downloads folder, I have some new songs, a defunct tune, and Killbox. So I'm going to pretend like I just downloaded these off the internet. I just got some fresh promos. I'm going to go into my Dropbox music folder, my Serato music, my 2020 Serato music, and my October folder. This is how I like categorize and organize my music. I'm going to call this folder October 13th. I'm going to drop this defunct and this Killbox tune into October 13th. And this is where these songs will now live forever. And then I'm going to drag them into my Serato library. They already have some cue points, but let's get rid of them. Okay, so on the defunct one, let's add a couple cue points, and it just matters so that when I go on the other computer, you see that these are new cue points, and let's just put one there. So we got defunct, jump, Killbox, speaker in my October 13th folder. We just created these. We just put these into our music library in Dropbox on Mac 1. If we look at our location of where these files are stored, users, tylerm, Dropbox music, Serato music 2020, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm going to quit Serato now on Mac 1. Exit, are you sure? Yes, okay, that closes. Now let's switch to Mac number 2. Let's look at Dropbox here. It is syncing these files right now in real time. It's synced those files that we imported because they are stored in my Dropbox music, Serato music. So just let me get that like that. Serato music 2020, October 13th. So these are all stored in Dropbox like we were talking about. And now when I open Serato, on this one, it's going through the music folder, symbolically linked into the Dropbox folder. When we were on Mac 1 here, and I put all my music, I was putting it into the Dropbox folder here. And this Mac accesses this Serato library in the Dropbox music folder. I added some playlists. I saved it. It automatically updates to this one because both these Macs are sharing the same folder. So now we're on Mac 2 once again, and we see that October 13th, we have Defunct's Jump song with those two cue points that we added, and we see the path is the same, users, tylerm, Dropbox music, Serato. So there was a copy of each of these songs on each computer, but really it's just the one Dropbox on each computer sharing, and any updates will be updated between each one. So I'm going to show you guys how to set this up. It's insanely handy for this if you have like a main dedicated kind of workstation computer, and then you have a travel one. So for lots of my friends and I, we're all music producers and DJs, and we used to tour, and hopefully we'll all be touring again at some point. But I like doing all my engineering on my more powerful MacBook Pro. And then when I finish all my work, it's automatically sent through Dropbox, downloads right away to my touring travel MacBook Pro. And once again, would work with an iMac, would work with a Mac Pro. It doesn't matter. You just need to have your system links kind of sorted out. All right, now you can also use this technique to link two PCs together through Dropbox, or as I've figured out just in the last couple of days, you can link a Mac and a PC, share the same music library and Serato playlists and everything, just like I've demonstrated right here. So I just switched over. I got my PC set up right here. Now, let me just show you, it's been on in the background and it's been syncing and updating just like my other Mac has been. So right now I have two Macs and a PC all syncing and connecting to each other. Now I just opened up Serato on the PC, October 13th. This is the playlist we just made, Jump, Defunk, and Killbox Beaker. And you can see that those same cue points and playlist markers, it's all there. And if we look at our location, it's the same location, but it just says C drive. And I'm going to talk about all the file linking and stuff a bit later in the video for PCs, because it can get really complicated depending on if your username is the same on Windows as it is on Mac. And I don't want to get too convoluted into that yet, but just to demonstrate, so I'm on the PC right now. Let me just grab something from another playlist, put it into this new October 13th playlist, add a comment here. So it says 5A in the comments, and let's go Tyler October 13th update. Enter that. It's writing that into the tags in the comments, and I'm just going to close this now. So PC closed. Let's switch back to Mac. So this is back to our Mac 1. Let's go up to Dropbox here, and it's saying it's all up to date. Let's just make sure. Cool. So we should be good to go. Let's go open up. You basically just have to wait a few seconds for those files, the playlist updates in Serato, and any new things that have been updated. You just have to wait for that to transfer over Dropbox, download to your other computer. If you have a fast internet connection, it's going to just be within 10 seconds or something. So you can see we're back on the Mac. We just added this song on the PC. We updated this comment, and if I would have dragged any songs into the proper folder hierarchy, which we'll talk about later, they would also be here. As you can see, bam, awesome. So this whole system works. It's awesome. I've been figuring it out. The Mac to PC one is quite a bit more challenging, but I'm going to show you guys how to set all this up. So now what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to turn off my symbolic links on each Mac. I'm going to move basically my Serato music and stuff back into the default music library, and I'm going to show you guys how to set all this up. So give me 1 second and I will be back, and I'll show you how to do all this fun stuff. Okay, so now we are back at a default kind of standard Mac configuration where in your user library, so users, tylerm, you have a music folder. This is a default music folder. You can see there's no arrow on it. So on your computer, this is where your Serato libraries are going to be, all sorts of things. So now watch, I'll just open up Serato and it's going to default point. I don't have my Serato folders in this folder. So it's just going to make a bare bones, basically new. You can see it just created it, a brand new installation of Serato. Just to kind of prove the point, when we make the symbolic link, I'll show you. So literally nothing in this Serato. So let me just close that. So you, my friend on the internet watching this tutorial, you are going to have your Serato crates in your music folder. You are going to have your music library. You're probably going to have a whole bunch of stuff in here. And what you need to do before we go any further is copy all of this and put it on an external hard drive. There is a greater than 0 chance you might F all this up and ruin your life and lose everything. So please, I'm begging you, go back everything up, and not only back it up once, why don't you back it up twice? Grab your Serato folder, hit option, come down and drop it on your desktop just so you have a backup. Now, this Serato folder is meaningless to me, but your Serato folder is going to be important. Step 2, once you've backed up all your important music stuff, is that, remember, we need to take it out of our default music folder. You now need to install Dropbox. Now you get, I think, like 500 gigs for free for a free Dropbox account, something like that. I'm not sure. I have a pro account with 2 terabytes because I have my whole music library, and like I use Dropbox a lot for this and other things. So I have a 2 terabyte one and costs like $120 a year or something like that. And so what we now need to do is you need to make a music folder in your Dropbox folder. So now let's go to users, tylerm, and then when you install Dropbox, the actual program, it's going to make a folder like this in your user library. So go into that and then make a new folder that's called music, and go into your normal music folder. Grab all your old stuff, your old Ableton crates. This folder should theoretically be empty in your Dropbox, and drag and drop it all and copy it over into Dropbox. And so what we're doing now is we're taking all this and we're moving it into users, your username, Dropbox, music. Okay, so now we need to symbolically link these 2 folders, which is a bit easier said than done, but it's not that hard. So one thing you definitely need to know is that in your user library, you cannot delete these folders. So I'm hitting Command Delete, and macOS will not let you delete these. These are system folders. So what you need to do to make a symbolic link, which once again, we are linking this. We basically want to take this music folder, get rid of this music folder, and sneakily place this one right there. So when Serato opens, or any music program opens that's looking for this music folder, there is basically a symbolic link here that says music that takes you into this music folder. So there's a few things we have to do. We need to get rid of this music folder. And to do that, we need to, and from here on out, go into terminal. So Command Space opens up macOS terminal. If you're not familiar, this is just a place where you can execute like code, and it's a bit more leveled up, but I'm going to show you how to do it. And once again, big ups to my homie Jeff Kendall, who was the first guy I saw kind of do this stuff. And then he linked me to another Dropbox help thing where a guy was linking things, and I've kind of figured it out from there, but it's actually quite easy. So step 1 is we need to rename this system music file folder. So the command for that is sudo mv, and then we have music, and we're going to call it music.old. Now what this command is going to do is it's going to change this music folder to a new name, music.old, and it's going to break the kind of like system link. It's going to ask me for my password. I'm going to hit that, and booyah, as you see right there, we've switched from music to music.old. Now, what this gives us the chance to do, also, like your old stuff is in there still, so that's good. You should have backed it up by now, but if you didn't, make sure you back it up. What this gives us a chance to do now is it makes room for us to put this symbolic link in. If I try and run this next command without changing the music.old, it's going to give an error. It's either going to say that folder already exists, or just like that this next command won't work. So to make our symbolic link, this little beauty, connecting these 2 folders at a root level in macOS, ln-s, and then hit space, and then you drag in the folder that you want to link, which is our Dropbox music folder. It will automatically put the path in, and then you link the directory to where you want that to exist. So I want this music folder to exist in my tylerm user library, basically, or in my tylerm folder. So I'm just going to drag the whole tylerm into there, users tylerm. Now I should be able to hit enter, and it just creates this beautiful symbolic link, which when I double click on it, links me into my Dropbox music folder. You can see these are both the same. And now when I open up Serato, remember when we opened it up before, nothing, it was a completely blank It was a completely blank install of Serato, but now it is linking through the Symbolic folder into my music Dropbox, where my real Serato playlist is, and good times, everything's there. So let me close that. Now, as long as you have backed up your music that was in now music.old, you can get rid of this. So you can delete this folder. So Command delete, booyah, it's gone forever. We now have this symbolic link. Bougie, say hello to the people. Thanks. All right, so we just made our symbolic link between users tylerm music and users tylerm Dropbox music. We have all our good stuff in the Dropbox. Now let's set up the second Mac to receive a symbolic link between the Dropbox folder. So we're going to switch over to Mac number 2. Let's go into our hard drive, into our users. Now you can see I got a normal music library. So if you have two computers and you had different music stuff on this, you need to also back this up and get it out of this folder, because we're going to do the same thing, turn this music folder into a .old folder and delete it. So if you have different things in this folder on your second Mac, back it up. Just to show you that these aren't linked, I'm opening up Serato right now. Serato defaults into music. You see that this Serato folder was just created. And I have no Serato information because it's at the moment on this computer, the music folder is empty. So let's close this. And once again, Dropbox is completely synced. So I have Dropbox, I have music, everything is in here. Because once again, if we switch back, this is downloaded on the second Mac, but we have not done this symlink yet. So back to Mac number 2. Let's bust open the terminal and let's open this up just visually so we can see. So remember, we want to link this music folder in Dropbox to our user tylerm music folder. Okay, now we want to open up terminal. So the first thing we need to do, sudo mv music.old, ask for my password in, we got music.old. Now we need to make the symbolic connection here. ln space -s, and then we drag in our music folder from Dropbox. There we go. And then we drag in the main tylerm user folder. Click there, hit enter. And now we have a symbolic link connecting back, booyah, to our Dropbox folder. So now when we go back here, when I double click on this, it takes us into our Dropbox folder. I don't need this music.old. I can delete that. And now when we open Serato, it is looking back through this music folder, connecting with this one, which is the same one that connects this one. All the files are stored there. And when Serato opens, booyah, we have everything. We got the stuff from the start of the lesson. Now, a really good thing, if you remember at the start of the lesson, when I was on my PC, I put a track in here. Now, what I forgot to do was I had Serato open on this second PC at that same time. So when I closed the PC Serato version, everything updated, except this Serato was already open. So when I closed this Serato, it overwrote that new song that I put in. And then when I closed this Serato, it overwrote the PC version. So a good side caveat here is that you can only have Serato open on one machine at a time. I mean, it's going to make your life, you can have them both open at the same time, but the overwriting and files staying up to date aren't going to work properly. So only have Serato open at one time, make your life a lot easier. But point being, we jumped back before we added that tune, but we can go and add something now. So let's grab this, whatever, City Slickers Skeptical remix. Let's go and add a comment. Yo, cool. So let's close this. So we are on Mac 2. Let's switch back to Mac 1. It just synced. And let us open up Serato on Mac 1. And that Skeptical Songs should now be in our October 13th folder with the updated yo in the comment title. There we go. Boost, City Slickers, bam, comment, yo, perfect. So we're working. Wonderful. So that's really it for linking Mac to Mac. I hope that made sense. The commands for the sudo to move the music folder to music.old and then the ln -s symbolic link command are in the comments. Be careful. Make sure you backed up your stuff first before you do this, because there's high room for screwing stuff up. So just please back up your things. And then, yeah, Bob's your uncle, man. Just make sure all your music is stored in the Dropbox when you link it. And then your Macs, as long as your username is the same on both Macs, sharing the same Dropbox account, also a very important point, you should be good. This same technique works with Ableton sessions, as long as you're storing your Ableton sessions and your user library in your Dropbox and importing your songs into the Ableton sessions from the Dropbox folder, this one right here. Whether you open it on this computer or the other computer, it's all going to operate the same way. It will update. It's awesome. So it's so good. So now I can like be producing at home. I go on tour. I can open up all the Ableton sessions I was working on, all my set creation sessions, everything. It's wicked. Okay, let's talk about linking Macs and PCs together. Same thing, Serato playlist, Ableton, music, it all loads together. So I got my little charts here. So we have our MacBook Pro with our music library, which we symbolically linked to our Mac Dropbox, right? Now, what we have now is a PC, and we need to first sync our Dropbox to the PC, right? So let's flip over to the PC. So on a Mac, you just have your one hard drive. Like no matter how big it is, for the most part, you just have a hard drive. That doesn't matter. On PCs, you have your C drive, which is wherever Windows is installed. And then you have however many more drives you want to install on your computer. There's like, you could have 10 hard drives and they could all have different letter names and stuff. So the instructions here are subjective. You're always going to have your main hard drive as your C drive though. And so in my case, I have a very fast NVMe SSD, a 1 terabyte for my C drive, and that's where all my programs are installed, and that's where Windows is installed. And then I have a 2 terabyte SSD for sample libraries and music and Dropbox at the moment. So I've installed Dropbox. This is my Dropbox folder. And if we switch back to Mac real fast and go down to, sorry, I'm looking at a really small, tiny different screen now. So if you go back to my Dropbox folder, you can see that all this stuff is the same as this stuff. So this is the Dropbox folder now synced and like here. So I've synced my Dropbox folder on the D drive. Really important things to note here is that Stickybuds is my username on my PC, just like, let me go back here, sorry. So C drive, users, Stickybuds. So I have my Stickybuds username on my PC. Just like on a Mac, you have your downloads folder, your documents, your desktop, your music folder. So I have nothing in here right now, but let me just show you. So your C drive is your default drive. So when I open up Serato on my Windows, it's going to look into the C user music folder. So as soon as I open up Serato, it's going to look in this music folder, C user Stickybuds music, for a Serato file. There isn't one there right now, so it's going to create one as soon as I click this. So that just created this, and I'm going to be open up to a completely blank Serato. Cool. So now you, just like what we needed to do on the Mac, what we need to do now is get rid of this music folder and symbolically link it with the Dropbox music folder. Now, the only place, if you're on this PC, you cannot delete this music folder. It just doesn't work. So, and another caveat, if you have a whole bunch of different music stuff on your PCs and things like that, back all that up too. Back up everything. So to delete your music folder, you need to go to local disk C, users, Stickybuds, and now you can delete this one. So if I hit delete on there, it deletes. Now, Windows is kind of like cycling in the background, and eventually it notices that that music folder is gone, and it will pop it back in there. And I haven't figured out the exact kind of things that make it return it, but it will eventually come back. If I open up command prompt, so very important here, you need to right click on this and go run as administrator. Now we have different symbolic link commands, but I just want to point out that this music folder came back. So if I try and symbolically link with my D drive right now in my Dropbox folder, it's going to say that I can't because that file already exists. One thing I like about Windows is that you can resize these folders like this. That's really nice. I like that. Okay, so what we're going to do, just for ease of use again, we have our D drive, we have our Dropbox, we have our music folder. So now when I was doing these tests and stuff, I thought maybe my hard drives needed to be named the same as Mac and stuff like that, but they don't. Doesn't matter what your hard drives are named. So once again, we need to replace this music folder in our user library with this music folder in our Dropbox. So the commands for this, we have mklink /D. Doesn't matter whether it's lowercase or capital D. Now we need to put the target folder first to the actual folder destination. So we're going to put C:/ users / Stickybuds / music. Now this is the destination of this music folder, C users Stickybuds music. And then we put the place where we're linking from, which is D / Dropbox music. Okay, now remember this is reverse than what we did on Mac. On Mac, you put your Dropbox music first, and then you put up to the subdirectory for your user library. On PC, you put the exact path, and then you put where you're pulling it from. So the Dropbox links second. So it's a very important note. If I hit enter right now, it's going to say this music folder already exists. So once again, I have to click on this. I have to delete it. That's gone. Now I can come back to my command prompt. I can hit enter. Symbolic link created for C user Stickybuds music, D Dropbox music. Okay, so as you see, just like on Mac, we get a little forward arrow. When I double click on this, booyah, into my Dropbox. So now let's open up Serato and see what happens. It's going to look to music because this is the default user library. It's going to look to music, and it's going to be transported into this music folder, which has the same Serato playlists and stuff that are synced to my Macs. So let's open up this. Sweet. So here's all my Serato playlists and stuff. Let's go back to this October 13th folder and click on it. Oh man. So none of our tracks are linked. So this is the next thing we need to solve. If we go and look at our locations, this is the same location address as on our Mac. It's the exact same except for one thing, where Serato has now put a C drive in front of users. So what we need to do, Serato is looking for C users tylerm Dropbox music Serato files to connect all our tunes. So all we need to do now is we can minimize this, and we are going to go to our C drive. We are going to go in our users, and we are going to make a dummy user file. So let's hit a new folder. Yes, continue. Now, Serato is looking for tylerm. And then let's go back to Serato. So what's it looking for? tylerm, Dropbox, music, Serato. Okay, so let's just make that path. tylerm, Dropbox. We can minimize this one for now. So it's looking for C, users, tylerm, Dropbox, and then music. Okay, so now if we remember how symbolic links work on PC, I want to open up command prompt, right click, run as administrator, come here. Now, remember we want to create the folder on Windows. So we want to go mklink, and we are in mklink, and remember /d. All the commands are in the description of the video if you need them. mklink /d. This is our symbolic link command, and now we need to put the directory of the folder we're creating, which is C:\users tylerm. Doesn't matter if it's capitalized or not on the file path. Dropbox, and then the folder we're making, I will capitalize it because I want it to be capitalized, is music. So this is the symbolic link folder that is going to appear here to complete this path. So we're creating this folder, music, right there. And let's get back to terminal. Sorry, just really trying to make sure this is clear. And then we're going to link our Dropbox music folder. So the link d:/Dropbox/music. Now, if we did all this right, let's just double check. mklink /d C /users tylerm Dropbox music. That's the folder we're going to create. And then our link is D drive /Dropbox /music. Let's hit enter. Symbolic link created for C users Tyler Dropbox. Okay, so that's there. Now this music folder is linking to this music folder, which is the path that our Serato is looking for. So if I hit Control left bracket, oh my goodness, everything works now. Amazing. So this took me a long time to figure out, and I'm really stoked. I'm so happy that this stuff works. Okay, so we need to talk about some other things too, because how you work these drives really matters. So let's just keep going and looking. Like all this stuff works. If we go to all of my DJ sets, you know, from the last all these years, cue points, everything, all the timings, well, whatever, that one. So these songs are not appearing on my PC. The reason why is because there's symbols that are not accepted by PCs. So if you have used things like stars and slashes in your file names, they will not transfer from Dropbox to your PC because PCs do not accept those as characters in file names. So you'll have to go through and rename them and relink those files. And so there are some, things that you have to deal with. Same with your folder hierarchy. If you have slashes in your folder hierarchies, they won't work. So things that don't have, I have all these like semicolons. This one doesn't have semicolons, so it's transferred through Dropbox. It works. So the main point is that this works, except for, there you got it, another semicolon one. So these will be things that you have to get used to with a Mac and PC hybrid system, because that's very important. And any folders, once again, that have those symbols in them aren't going to transfer. So you need to change their names, and then you need to relink them. just to go over this one more time, because this system hierarchy is a little complicated, let's just do it one more time. So on my C drive, my username is Stickybuds. That is my main PC. Serato defaults to your music folder, which I've symbolically linked to my Dropbox music folder, which is on the D drive. So if I go to Sierra D drive, this Dropbox folder, this is the same as on my Macs. This is inside the music folder. So these are the same. Now, when I open Serato on my Macs and everything, it's looking for users tylerm. And because I have a different username, and you might have a different username, it's good that I figured this out. You can go to C drive, go to users names, and make a dummy account. So this is just a dummy account. There's nothing really here on Windows, but I just made the folder hierarchy, tylerm Dropbox, and then another symbolic link to Dropbox Music, which is the file path that Serato is doing. And as soon as I made that symbolic link, when you click on things, Serato can find the files. And whatever updates you make will go through Dropbox and be updated to the Macs. So just to, let's switch back because I got a handy dandy chart here. So our real Windows user is Stickybuds, and I symbolically linked the Stickybuds music folder with the Dropbox music folder, symbolic link. Then I made a fake Windows user that is the same as my Windows user, and it just needs to be this exact same thing, but on the C drive with a symbolic link to the music folders. So I hope that makes sense. That is how you link your Serato libraries from Macs and PCs, Macs to Macs, all to share. So all my two Macs and my PC will all share the same library now. I will be retiring my older crappy MacBook Pro and just switching to one PC and one Mac. But there are more things to talk about. So I think what would be another good exercise here is to symbolically link all the download folders between my Macs and my PC. So it doesn't matter if I download something on my PC or I download something on my Mac, they're all going to share the same downloads. So I will have everything on each computer, and then I can put it into the files wherever they need to go. So like, if I'm upstairs on the couch on my MacBook Pro and my friend sends me a tune on Facebook, I download it. It goes into my download folder on my Mac, and then it's automatically transferred through Dropbox to my PC into that download folder where I'll probably do my main kind of like organization of music and stuff. So I think this can be a very handy thing. So let's do all this again for more learning and more reinforcement of these techniques. So on my Tyler's MacBook Pro, users, Tyler M, we have a Dropbox or a downloads folder right here. And there's nothing in here at the moment. I've gotten rid of it. So in my Dropbox, I have a downloads folder, which has all that stuff we had in at the start. So I've moved all those things that were in my Dropbox. I moved all the things that were in my downloads folder into a folder in Dropbox called downloads. Now we're going to do the same symbolic linking once again. So let's get all this open just so you guys are really getting this. Terminal. So we need to do the sudo command, sudo mv. And now this time downloads.old. Let's check the syntax, sudo mv downloads.old. Cool. Now we hit enter on this. We should get a password prompt. Okay, put in the password. Booyah, downloads.old. Now we need to make our ln space -s our symbolic reference. Now, once again, we put in the downloads folder first. So this is opposite from PC. So downloads folder first from Dropbox. And then we put the subdirectory where we want it to go, which is tylerm. Bam. Let's hit enter. Booyah. Symbolic link in our user library for the downloads folder, which goes to this downloads folder in Dropbox. Those are now connected. So on the PC now, let's go local disk C, users, Stickybuds, right? Stickybuds, that's my main PC folder. We have this is the default Windows download folder. Now I need to symbolically link this with my D drive Dropbox downloads folder. So this is that folder that we just had on Mac, which we symbolically linked the downloads folder on Mac 1 to this downloads folder in Dropbox. And now we need to symbolically link this downloads folder in Dropbox to my downloads folder on PC. So let's hit the Windows button. Let's go command prompt, right click, run as administrator. Okay, so remember we need to delete this folder, but let's write out our mklink /d. Let's not forget that. mklink /d, and we need to do the file path. C : /users /stickybuds /downloads, because we actually have to type the file path for where the symbolic link is going to go on PC. And now we need to type the target, which is D / Dropbox /downloads. I need to delete this file first. So let's go here. Delete. Downloads folder in my C drive users is deleted. Let's go back to our command prompt and let's look mklink /d. C users Stickybuds downloads, D Dropbox downloads. Looks good. Symbolic link created. Okay, downloads. Now here we are. So in our downloads folder, amazing. Now I really don't like how Windows displays this, and I haven't figured out how to stop it from doing that, but I will at some point. So now just to show that these download folders are syncing, let's just make a new folder on my desktop, on my PC, and call this PC, oops, wrong keyboard, PC link to Mac test. So I just made this folder. I'm going to drop it here into the downloads folder. PC link to Mac test, you can see that that's syncing. If I go here and click on Dropbox, it says it's up to date. So now let's switch back to our Mac. And if we go into our downloads folder, PC link to Mac test right there. So that is on our Mac already. So now to link my Mac number 2, you would just go through the same process and you would delete the downloads folder with the sudo command and then symbolically link the downloads folder. And then you would have 2 Mac downloads folder and a PC downloads folder all syncing together. So now I have 2 Macs and a PC completely synced. Let's talk about how you add music to your PC. So usually how I add my music is I put it into a folder into my Dropbox Music, Serato libraries, October 13th or whatever, and then I drag that into Serato. So Serato's always looking for this file path for the music. Now on the PC here, my user path is Stickybuds for my main account, but remember I've made a symbolic link here for the Dropbox. What I need to do when I add music to my Serato library on my PC is I need to go in through my fake Windows user, which symbolically links to Dropbox, and drag it through that folder hierarchy into Serato. So let me just demonstrate that, because if you don't do that this way, then it doesn't work. Okay, so let's switch back to the PC here. Now, you have to add the songs the right way to Serato, like I was just talking about. So we're in Serato on PC. We have this October 13th folder. Let's just make a new folder. We'll call this PC tests whatever, put it into October main file folders. Okay, so we need to add, just like on Mac, we need to add from the tylerm folder. We cannot add from the Stickybuds folder or the Mac will not see the right file path. So back to PC, we need to go through the C drive and into users, and we need to go through our dummy account tylerm, Dropbox, through the symbolic link, and you can see the path is working here, music into Serato Music 2020. I'll just grab any old song. Hey, it's one of my remixes, cool. And then let's do the wrong thing, which might be a problem you run into if you don't do this right. So users, let's do it through Stickybuds, music, and we're going, this is the exact same folder I added it from, but the symbolic link and the path, they look different. So let's grab any other song, whatever. So now if we look at the file paths here, see users, one came from tylerm, Dropbox, and this is the file path that my Mac will recognize. And then this one came from Stickybuds. Even though realistically they all came from the same folder structure, this is what symbolic links do. Like the computer thinks it's going through these file systems, but it's actually going through different ones. So when I close this now, when I close Serato, it's going to update my Dropbox. And you can see there's a little like syncing. Cool, so it just updated all my playlists. Now let's switch back to Mac number one. Let me switch my screen. Let's open up Serato, which should be all updated. Oh, it's not updated yet, please. Oh, okay, just updated. Always give your computer time to update. Hopefully it caught that before I opened it. If you're on a fast internet connection, it should happen. So here's my PC test folder that we just added on the PC. So Savona Carnival, which we added through the fake tylerm user on PC. Does that work? Yes. That works. Does the user Stickybuds thing work that is coming from the exact same folder that I have here? No, it does not work because we have to add it from the proper folder hierarchy. If I go back to my PC, this folder will work because that path exists, but on my Mac, it will not. So, man alive, what a topic to try and explain. And I have no idea how many people are going to find this stuff useful and interesting. But for me personally, I needed to make this work to switch between a Mac or a PC and a Mac and my two Mac system before this. This was essential for me to figure out. So it's a bit complicated. I really hope I explained this well. As far as I know, I've never seen anyone connect and sync Mac and PC Seratos like this. Once again, this will all work for PCs and Macs and Ableton and Serato. And if you're a different kind of content creator, this will work for photos and videos or codes or files or Word documents or whatever. And just to save you some time here, one trick to definitely do is that to make sure you add the files into Serato on the right place is to just set up a quick link. So I have one here already. I'm going to just unpin from quick access. So to make sure I'm always adding from my tylerm library into Serato, I'm going to go local disk C, users, go through my tylerm symbolic link, Dropbox, music, and then my Serato music, right click and pin to quick access. Now, whenever I click on Serato music, it's going through the right file path. I'll never make that mistake again as long as I click on this folder and add from here. So, my friends, that brings us to the end of our lesson. I really hope this helps some of you. Like I said, this was imperative for my workflow and how I do things, from going from the 2 Mac system now to a Mac and PC system where everything works beautifully. And I've filmed this lesson a few times trying to make it as concise and make it make sense as much as possible. So I hope this made sense. Feel free to drop a comment below. I'll try and help out you guys as much as I can. And if you appreciate the lesson, I'd love it if you checked out patreon.com/stickybuds. I'm growing a cool music community there. You can get all my releases, you get sample packs, you get private tutoring if I have room, which currently I'm totally full up on. And it's really great. There's like a couple hundred people who have signed up, and this is how I support myself as a musician in this day and age. And check out my weekly stream show called Different Strains. It's on just a little bit of a hiatus right now as I transfer to this PC system and do all this fun stuff, but I will be back soon in the coming weeks. All the episodes are up on my YouTube. And yeah, once again, my name's Stickybuds. I love music and I love helping people, so I hope this has been beneficial for you. Have an absolutely wonderful day. Check out the all the notes in the video for all the commands and stuff if you need help with that stuff. And there'll be some links there. Have an awesome day. Peace out.